Hi, I'm Sug.
And I'm Dan.
This is the Demystified Zone.
Talking about the hottest thing in Korea.
North
BTS.
Korea. Oh, I thought that's what we were about here.
Bangtan Boys.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what's up, Dan?
Hello.
Hey, so I was watching The Truman Show recently. You remember this movie?
Oof, yeah, love that movie.
Starring Jim Carrey, Ed Harris, late 90s. Great film for all those who have not seen it. Do you know the synopsis of the movie? Give us a brief synopsis.
A human being was born in captivity. There was a movie set built around him to make it seem like it's real life. It's basically a reality show of his life, but he doesn't know that he's living in a show.
Yeah, he's the only one.
It's like a zoo. He's a zoo animal.
It is. Reality zoo.
Yeah.
So this movie, ahead of its time, because basically now we live in this time with all the TikToks and Instagrams and YouTubes of like us wanting to broadcast our lives, but the changes, we know it, the difference.
But then we don't know, like, these YouTube, Instagram stars or whatever, we don't know, like, what's real and what's not. It's like weird.
Oh yeah, we're the Trumans.
It's like reversed almost.
It is.
Yeah, it's very interesting times.
And it's funny. Okay, so this is what I thought was so interesting in the movie, because you go back to that movie, you're like, man, this movie was so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It's like, so the show becomes like super popular worldwide. Everyone's following it, and obviously Truman's the only one that doesn't know. And the next big break in the show, so there's all these milestones, right? When he got married, when he got his job. The next thing is like having a baby live on camera, and then the baby not knowing too. It's like a second Truman. So that was like kind of like the push of the movie of like, or like one of the storylines, like the show creators want him to have a baby with his wife.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like that's basically all the reality shows now, like people Kardashians having a baby on TV, you know, like again, difference being they know and they're doing it intentionally. But I just found that so interesting and that the show was ahead of its time.
Yeah, I guess the movie came out at the dawn of the reality TV era, right? The late 90s.
In the same era. Exactly.
Yeah,
It came
Real World came out in the 90s, which I used to watch.
Yeah. Real World, Road Rules, and then basically in the 2000s when Survivor and all that started coming out, the reality shows. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I was watching this and it made me think about North Korea. Everything makes me think about North Korea nowadays.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And there's this one series of shots in Truman Show, like late in the movie, when he's starting. Sorry, this is going to be a spoiler alert here if you haven't seen. Okay,
Yeah.
So Truman's ultimately is suspicious.
Yeah.
And then there's like these series of shots of like in the past when Truman was a baby and a kid, of all these like outsiders, because the set was like this giant city they made enclosed, and these outsiders infiltrating the set and trying to like, one, be on TV, and then two, like pull the veil out for Truman and be like, you're on a TV show, this isn't real. And it's really funny because like one of them is like, it's Christmas and he's like a little boy. The guy just like pops out of this huge box and the dad like tackles him. He's like, it's not real, Truman. And then you see all the mom and the dad and the extras like pulling this guy out. And then there's just like a bunch of cuts. Like there's a guy who flies in on like a glider and just like tries to, and this is just a funny series of shots, but then that got me thinking about North Korea. And like, I feel like these people are living the Truman Show. I think a better analogy might be actually the Matrix, where they are very much blinded into thinking this is what the rest of the world is, this is reality, but there's another reality.
I think about Rapunzel, Tangled, the movie.
Okay.
Where this girl is kept in a tower, told lies about the outside world, is very dangerous out there. This evil woman who's taking advantage of her.
Okay.
Says that
you've
she
thought
loves
about
her.
that, but your movie repertoire always goes back to what your children are watching.
I actually had a conversation about this movie this week with my daughter. Yeah.
Okay. So Rapunzel. All right.
Rapunzel.
Matrix,
Tangled.
Truman Show, Tangled.
Yeah.
All reflections of a more real and terrifying reality of North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So that got me thinking, have there been moments in North Korea where the Truman Show break-ins have happened or attempted from the outside, where like obviously people and outsiders, one, are not really welcome to North Korea. Two, if they are coming in, are under strict supervision, can't do much, see a lot of lies, right? A lot like The Interview, fake markets, fake stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what to you comes to mind? What are like the top moments in North Korean history where attempts for outside to infiltrate or like break into the inside?
Yeah, I mean, one of the bigger ones, and this is a reoccurring thing, is the balloons that fly into North Korea.
Okay.
Activists in South Korea fly these huge balloons. I've been to one of these launches.
Okay.
These huge balloons filled with information about the outside world. Sometimes it's like Korean dramas, but at the beginning of these dramas are a message about democracy or whatever.
Like there's like
right?
tapes in these balloons, like, or SD cards or something?
Maybe SD cards, yeah.
Interesting. How big are these balloons?
They are, I would say, 50 yards tall.
Whoa. These are not
Ginormous.
These are like almost like the hot air balloons. I mean, those are way bigger, but
yeah,
big balloons.
very big balloons.
Weather balloons.
Yeah. The the launch that I went to, it was right at the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, right near it, and it's supposed to fly north, right? So it was an event, right? They launched them, and everyone's like, "Yay!" or whatever, and they started flying south.
Oh,
it was very like, I don't know. It reminded me of my childhood in Korean churches, but they're like, they'll eventually get north. I was like, what? How do you know? Anyway, yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
very admirable on their side to get information. I'm not trying to trash them. I just thought it was a funny movie.
Oh, that's funny to me. The balloons went south. How many balloons were there?
I'd say about a dozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, these are huge balloons.
Humongous, yeah.
Do the North Koreans like shoot these things down? Like, do you hear like gunfire shortly after?
Yeah, shoot them down. People are instructed never to touch them or their hands would wither up.
Oh, wait, what? Back up there. So North Koreans telling the government telling North Koreans don't touch the boxes.
The contents of these balloons are, these freedom pamphlets are like all over the place, I guess.
Okay.
So they know how to
tell us what that is. What's the freedom pamphlet?
Oh, it's just like a it's a small booklet saying you're living in the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Don't trust your government. They're lying to you. You don't live in paradise on earth. Democracy is not bad, etc.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to see one of those pamphlets one day. We need to bring one in.
Yeah. I saw them. They're reminiscent of the 4 spiritual law tract that people used to pass out in the 90s as well.
It's interesting because this is a side subject, but
yeah.
It's like contacting aliens for the first time. Like, what are you going to say? What are you going to put out there to convince somebody, right? Convince somebody
so it's like
that you're friendly for
Contact.
one. Yeah. Right. Well, what do you say? And what do you show them?
Right.
And what's the most effective way to convince somebody to want to risk their life to leave something, leave their home?
I think it's the hope maybe is to suggest that something is ill, and they can take it from there, right?
Inception, make them think it's their own idea.
Let's just keep on throwing these references out, baby. Yeah, Inception.
Sorry, that's where I live, people. I'm constantly watching movies and TV all the time. It's my job. Okay, balloons. That's cool. So people try to send I'm still laughing about them flying south.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. That must have felt so terrible for the event organizer. So the balloons. Anything else come to mind? Any other ways of infiltrating from the outside? And what else have we done?
There are radio broadcasts. So Radio Free Asia.
Okay.
That news organization is actually the mission of that organization. The primary mission is to send radio signals by shortwave radio into the country where people could listen to a free, a true journalistic broadcast about the world.
So are they like constantly playing on a loop a message or something?
No. It's just like what you would hear on TV or radio, news radio broadcast.
Oh, so it's like a program, and they're just trying to broadcast it over the borders
constantly. Yeah.
Do they know if that gets picked up over there?
I know. So Radio Free, it started with the Eastern Bloc in Europe.
Okay.
And yes, that got picked up via shortwave radio, but North Korea is so kind of impenetrable. I don't know how they're getting shortwave radios into that country. Maybe they are via, the means that, media spills into the country anyway.
How many, and I'm sure North Korea has thought of this already, how many towns and cities are actually close to a border? Or do they purposely set those back? Are there municipal setback rules for their zoning boards? Where, you have to be 1,000 miles from the border.
So a lot of the refugees that we meet through crossing borders, they're from Chongjin, or these towns right along the border. So Chongjin is a huge city. It's a mining town, and it's right on the border of North Korea and China.
Wow.
So I don't think they did any urban planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my guess is then if a lot of refugees are escaping through there, the security is maybe higher up there or more intense.
Definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
Just so they've beefed up border security, altogether. So there are underwater mines, like landmines, but underwater. I don't know exactly how they work. There's more barbed wire fences to keep people out. Double barbed wire. So right around 2010, when security was beefing up, we saw construction of. There was already a barbed wire fence, and then they were building a secondary one, as if one was not enough. Just double measure of security.
It's like opposite of our wall.
Our border wall, right? Exactly.
It's not keeping people out; it's keeping people in.
Yeah, and all the border guards are there to keep people in.
Yeah,
they're shoot to kill orders on people leaving the country.
So I looked up some of these attempts to. One that's very common that comes up a lot are the K-pop speakers. Which
that's right.
Tell us about the K-pop speakers.
Yeah, along the DMZ, the South Korean military will play K-pop and all kinds of Korean media, and when tensions are high, they be blasting that music into North Korea. So much so that North Korea has made, during these times of tension where they're like, we're going to kill you, we're going to annihilate you with fire, blah, blah, blah. Can you please turn down that music? I don't know what the South Korean government is trying to accomplish there. Are they trying to annoy them so they can't sleep? Or are they trying to... not that the music is annoying, it's but constantly playing any kind of music.
Or they're trying to say anything them. They're holding up the speaker and they're like, I love you. Come back. They're doing it all at once.
Just throwing all the intentions in there. Yeah.
I read that and I had a good laugh because it's like the one situation where you can be the annoying neighbor next door and it's for a good cause. It's okay to blast your music here it's funny because it's not really I can't hear music. I live in Chicago and when the music festivals come in, I can hear
Exactly.
them,
Yeah.
and I'm like a good 2 miles away. But I can't understand anything from 2 miles away. I can just hear a thumping and low beat, and I can imagine that these speakers, as big as they are, like people are not gonna. They're just gonna hear this like ominous low beat and bass on the airways. If anything, the soldier, it's really just like a torture device for the North Korean soldiers.
I mean, most of these K-pop songs are like half English now, so they can't even understand.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe it's the music. They love. Maybe the North Korean soldiers. Maybe they're going for the soldiers.
Yeah,
and they're like, you see a couple feet tapping maybe once in a while, like
that's when
little toes. Yeah, well, the toes inside the shoes. We gotta look for like the little lump on the shoe to be moving. You see the toes moving.
Totally still, but yeah,
you see the little lump in the boot. Oh my gosh. Okay. Ridiculous. You had mentioned to me, and I want you to explain this to everybody else. There's a very particular phone messaging system or a way for outsiders to phone people inside. And
I didn't know about this until my most recent trip to Korea, South Korea, where we were interviewing a refugee, and she was telling us about this ingenious way that the North Korean people have figured out how to communicate by phone with the outside world. Because, like I said before, the North Korean phone system is an intra phone system. You can't hack into it.
There's no cell phone towers here either, or cell phone towers that are. Well, do they have cell phone towers? Do they have cell phones? They do.
The cell phone towers that they don't connect to the outside world.
Got it.
So
Verizon's got no coverage there.
You can't hear me now. Dad joke. So anyway, like I said before in another episode, these broadcast news journalists like Radio Free Asia has phones within North Korea connected to the Chinese towers, right?
Okay. Cell phones.
Okay. Right. So if anything happens in their town, they could pick up these phones, which are connected to Chinese towers, dial South Korean news bureaus, and say, "Hey, a teacher was executed for teaching kids how to dance K-pop," or something like that.
These are contraband phones in North Korea. Like they're hidden.
Exactly.
They're like
buried underground.
They're like the prison phones where people like smuggle in the phones.
Yeah. Exactly.
Illegal.
Illegal. So they connect to the Chinese tower. So they take one of these phones and they flip it upside down against the intra North Korea phone.
Got it.
Where now you can hear. So this woman said they did that in South Korea. They did that with her daughter. She didn't even know that her daughter was alive. Her daughter came into China, and they lost contact in the chaos. So she heard her daughter's back at their hometown. They got in touch through this flipping of the phone, and most of their conversation was screaming at the excitement of knowing that each other were alive. And then, and the mom...
Is someone physically holding the two phones?
The two phones at opposite ends.
Someone's holding the contraband phone, and then someone's got their cell phone, and then they flip them.
Yeah.
This is like analog three-way dialing.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. And they're just holding it there.
They're just this person who's getting paid probably a lot of money to do so.
Yeah.
Is very dangerous.
This is like a black market thing too.
Dude,
so this is a black market service.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chinese people are doing this maybe, or Koreans?
There has to be some participation from North Korean person because they're in North Korea.
Yes.
So yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
But so that's how this woman got in touch with her daughter. And she couldn't even tell her daughter that she's in South Korea. It was too dangerous because they're still listening into these calls, right? So they just kept it extremely general. Like, how are you doing? Oh, you're alive. This is wonderful. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so she doesn't even know that the mom that she's talking to has made it into South Korea and is prospering and doing well.
I wonder what the minute rate is for that call. What kind of what's the rate there?
I mean, anytime you send money into North Korea, it's at least a 30% mark.
Oof. Just to get across the border.
Right. And it's a dangerous business. So,
yeah, that's true. 30% ain't bad for risking your life to get it to the person that needs to get it.
Exactly.
Huh. Yeah. All right. So we have these contraband phones. That's actually really ingenious too.
It's ingenious.
It's just a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I wonder how, though, they keep under wraps, like, the line, like the number, right? Like it's like a burner phone. I wonder if they have burner phones so that the Korean government doesn't like call it themselves and be like,
well, see, that's the thing, right? Even in South Korea, like you can't have a burner phone in South Korea. Even in a free country like South Korea, you can't have a phone that's not registered to anyone's, equivalent of social security number, right?
Why is that?
Because there's so many scams, phone scams.
Yeah.
They keep a tight watch on all that in South Korea. So anyway, I would imagine it's the same for North Korea, right? Like you probably can't get a phone without the government knowing whose number that is. I don't know. It's I don't know the exact details.
That's so interesting, but I'm glad that they're being creative in trying to find ways to break information in, that's really cool.
Yes.
I found this thing, and you and I had talked offline about this, but there also have been stories of people inside trying to break out.
Yeah.
And this is not obviously this is very well known. But recently go ahead and pull that up, Mike. 2017. All right, I need y'all to look this up for yourself. So NPR...
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, NPR did this article in November of 2017. It says, if you Google it, NPR, video shows North Korean soldiers' dramatic sprint across border.
Yes.
So, real quick synopsis. This is like CCTV footage from South Korea of a North Korean defector in true Michael Bay style, running for his life from the North Korean side to the South Korean side.
And getting shot at, crashing the Jeep and making a run for it, getting shot at more, crawling in the infrared camera. You see him in infrared at night crawling, and while the North Korean soldiers are like looking for him. You all need to watch this footage. It's crazy. It can't be scripted. It could be, but this is just like, this footage is just the real thing. Yeah.
And it's super intense. The guy makes it. He got shot something like 5 times.
Yeah. And
he's running, and he survived. Makes it across, and it's really beautiful because then you see the South Korean soldiers going in at night, and I think he had crossed the line at that point. And they just run in there and they pull him out, and they basically save him because this guy's bleeding out.
Yeah. The crazy thing about that, and this is more in line with opening the veil too, right? Because North Korea on the border, they project an image of like, don't mess with us, as South Korea does too, right? They send their like biggest, baddest guys out front, and this guy is a soldier at the DMZ supposedly. They opened him up to get the bullets out, and he's like riddled with worms. He's malnourished.
Jeez.
Right? Like, so we did look under the hood of this guy at least, and their biggest and best are starving, have tapeworm. It is not a very pleasant picture to imagine all of these guys. And this is the best of the best.
Yeah, it was a soldier that ran for it. And this just shows where my mind goes. But I was like, you know what? It is very realistic when someone gets shot 5 times in the movie and still can run and walk. In my mind, I'm like, they should get shot once and drop. No, this man got shot 5 times. And not only did he run and crawl, he stayed like that for like a couple hours before and did not die or pass out. Going to show you the toughness of North Korean soldiers too. And he had tapeworms.
On top of that.
And he was it is crazy. I wish we could show you this video here, but there's no sound. It's CCTV, so it's just really bad camera work, and then us following this thing. But it's the most riveting thing you'll watch. I promise you. It's like 7 minutes. Go check that out. Yeah. So again, like here's what was interesting. You see the North Korean soldiers in this video footage. and they look like chickens with their heads cut off. They are so surprised at what's happening, and they're like running around. They group together, and they're all just like, what do we do? Like, what do we do? Like, they shot at the guy, but he got away. So like, they didn't chase him.
There's no drill for this scenario, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, they were opening up their pamphlets. They're like, what do we do? Man is running across the border on our side. We know what to do when they come over.
Or when they cross the other border into China.
Yeah.
In this border.
Yeah, they had no clue. And you see it, which that was so fascinating when you get to pull back the veil a little bit.
Yes.
And see, look at these guys. They're like, they're so panicked. The North Korean, look at that guy like ran up the stairs and ran back down, didn't know where to run. The North Korean soldiers are just like frantic in this video footage. And it's very interesting to see.
Well, think about it, right? Like, you know, in North Korea, if you probably if these guys screw up, they'll get executed too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they're panicking kind of for their life as well.
It's like if I participate, then I'm like, right, that scene's crazy.
Yeah, when
he was literally 30 feet from them, and they started shooting at him. But it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
If I actively like that guy running up the stairs, he was really far away from it. But I wonder if he was thinking, if I stop running towards it, I can just play ignorance, be like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. Like everyone was going crazy.
Right.
But then he changed his mind because the other fear was like, well, if I didn't actively try to stop it, maybe they're going to punish me anyway.
Right.
Look at these guys. Yeah. So there's this footage of like, how many is that? 10 or 12 guys just staring across the border, like not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And they're just, I don't know, maybe they're all grunts too. A couple more guys joining them. And it's so bizarre and interesting though.
Yeah.
And it's definitely this like moment. It feels like that, right? It feels like the Truman Show. Like they're so genuinely shocked.
When Truman tries to break out.
Yes.
Right? Like what do you
like, what do we do? All the actors are like, what do we do? Do we go back to keep acting, or do we like go along, or like, what do we do?
It's crazy.
Yeah. So check that out, because that is just interesting.
It's very interesting for sure.
So obviously there's not a lot of just access to what's going on inside, like other types. I'm sure this is one of many people trying to break out, and many get thwarted. This guy just got he made it, right?
Yeah.
He did it. You guys come across many people who have done it and made it.
Yeah.
I know there are a million stories you could tell, but specifically, give us a story about like the soldier story. Like, what was it that they heard, or like what was it from the outside that kind of like pulled them out of the matrix, so to speak, or like untangled them?
Untangled, right? Oh man, there's so many stories. I mean, you know, at the very beginning, when information was not getting into North Korea as much as it is now, you know, I think I might have told the story on this podcast before, but Mike Kim, our founder, he would walk into a room with North Korean people who just came across the border, and, you know, North Koreans, they knew he was American. So North Koreans are taught that Americans are monsters, and they literally are cowering in the opposite corner of him, fearful that he'll torture them or something. I don't know, you know, that torture him. So in that stage of our work, we would, in those situations, just turn on the TV and let them see like Times Square or Gangnam in South Korea, because they were also told...
You guys would bring like a TV, like a DVD player with you or something?
No, just have them watch the news in China.
Oh, I see.
Images,
okay.
Because at that point, everyone believed that we live on paradise on earth, and everyone else is like much worse off.
Let me rephrase the question. How about or focus in? What story, like, give us a story of when a person, before they made it to China, like, what made them leave North Korea and take that risk, take the journey? What was it that, like, you know, what was it that pulled the veil from their eyes in the moment that, because that's got to be a heavy moment to make that, just like this soldier running, being shot at, something had to have triggered him.
Well, yeah,
pushed him over
like
that.
this soldier, you're faced with the choice between life and death in North Korea, right?
Yeah.
So many of these people, they during the famine especially, they said, well, I'm going to die here anyway. I might as well try to eat, right? And this dash across the border for them was an attempt to just fill their bellies.
So hunger.
Hunger.
So it was just, that was the breaking point, just starvation. Like, I'm going to die.
I'm going to die here anyway.
So would you think like the veil had already been pulled? It was more of like they needed the impetus to get over there, or to do it. Like,
see, I don't know if it's so much like North Korea is terrible. It was much more a survival thing. Like I'm going to go against the wishes of my government and risk my life in doing so because I'm going to die anyway.
Yes.
I don't know if it's like this political thing where, oh, they don't care about me anyway. No, I don't think it's anything like that. It's like, well, I have to survive another day.
Yeah. Survival is way more of a powerful instigator to do something, right?
Right. Yeah. So, a lot of the refugees, they come to a place of realizing over time, like, oh my gosh, I've been lied to. It's not like this thing, right? Because let's say there's something that happens here that proves to us that we're living in some kind of lie, right?
Sure.
Or some matrix or whatever. I think it would take me, because I'm not that smart, I think it would take me like months to like just accept it.
Yeah.
And like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we do see that, right? And we see it most, I think, in like the political spectrum of our country, of whether you call it fake news or just highly biased news of people who do switch sides, whether left or right or left, but like they come to a realization, and it takes a long, like you said, it does take a long time, a lot of convincing, because there's a lot of counter information too, which is very true in North Korea, because their counter information game is very strong.
Very strong. Take that, fake news organization.
Yeah, you guys want to learn something? Go look at North Korea. So, which is interesting. Which brings me to another thing that I found, which is really cool. Y'all should check this out. Mike, if you can pull up the Vice video. There's a video, a little article that Vice did recently on a man named. You don't have to play it, Mike. Just hold it. Yeah. A guy named Jacob Bogle.
Yeah.
And you guys can check him out at www.jacobbogle.com.
We'll leave a note.
Yeah, check out this Vice video he's on. Basically, he did a very extensive satellite Google map building of North Korea.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, Dan.
Yeah, this guy, he was just curious. He looked at Google Earth, and he was just curious about North Korea, and he knew about all the political things and the mystery that it was. And he just wanted to understand from a mapping standpoint what they were looking at, because I guess Google Earth updates their maps over time.
Yeah.
And so after a while, he found out, he broke this guy from his bedroom. It sounds like he broke the story that North Korea was enriching uranium, the byproducts of that, the toxic radioactive byproducts of that was leaking into a river that was feeding North Korean people and eventually getting into South Korea. That was broken by this guy just on Google Earth. Yeah. Incredible.
And not to simplify what he's done, this guy has put in, I think, 10 years, he said, of work in over 65,000 data
Yeah, it's
points
definitely not oversimplifying.
Yeah.
He's not part of the CIA or some think tank or something. He's just an individual.
Which is so cool, because like we're talking about breaking into this Truman Show thing, and like he's using technology to It's a great article. Y'all got to watch it. Like he uncovers like changes that have been happening, upgrades to their military just by looking at like airstrips being redone or taken down, even
Yes.
patterns that they have in their commerce, and all sorts of cool things that he's just like uncovering through literally just satellite imagery. I'm sure he's got other ways of like vetting information as well, or finding things on the ground. But it's cool. It's cool in that like. I feel like, there's this like ticking clock now, and there's like a clock for North Korea. Like they can't hide anymore. Technology has made it so like you cannot hide anymore. In other ways, balloon messages, Google Earth, weird contraband phone calls, like it's encroaching now. In North Korea, you cannot hide.
Yeah, I mean. That's one side of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so now they can't hide from the truth of the outside world. They don't claim that they're paradise on earth anymore. They've softened a lot of their messaging around that. It's funny that it's messaging, but it totally is.
Yeah.
But now what do you do with that information, right? It's like someone or some group of people need the courage to rise up against their government. They need some communication tool to subvert the North Korean system where they can't listen in on their plans to, protest or whatever, right? So there's got to be some. Right now, it's like, what now, right? The information is in. Most people do not think these guys are gods anymore and all that. So what happens now? That is that is the most important question.
Yeah.
What does Truman do once he realizes that, right? That's the point we're at.
Well, that was the whole part of the point of the movie of like, Ed Harris says this, like, we've built a world. He's like, that's the scary world out there. Like there's a part of the movie where he talks to Truman as like a god. It's a greatly done scene, but he says, that's the scary world out there. Like, I've created a paradise for you here. But what's more powerful than that is the ability for Truman to choose.
Yes.
Where he didn't get to choose. And it's really, it's funny that I'm making these parallels to Truman Show, but
it's so relevant.
It is like North Korea. And that's the thing. I think people would argue against, like, it's a spectrum, right? Like, I don't think if we got political, I would necessarily say you need to be a democracy. I would love that. But maybe that's not what's best for them. I don't know. Like, they need to, I would just like for them to be able to choose.
Self-determination.
Yes, to choose. And, there are over 25 million people in North Korea.
Yeah.
They are all living normal or their normal lives. They have kids. They go to work. And we talk about a lot of the sensational things, which is very common, unfortunately. They're like starvation, really gross poverty. But there are over 25 million people
just
there.
Trying to live their lives.
Yeah, trying to live their lives and whatever's normal. But and they've been living it with this context for generations, over 70 years, since Kim Il-sung, right?
Right.
And so it is that, like, I feel uncomfortable sometimes when I'm like, you need to leave and find like freedom and democracy, because maybe that's not what they need or want, and it's what their choice. But really what it is, like, the choice to make a choice.
Yes.
For the people as a whole to make a choice, or everyone to have that choice, which they do not have because the government and the regime lies and like covers everything up,
I think that's the power of freedom and freedom of speech, right? Where, I think the United States, we have problems with this, but by and large, out of the rest of the world, we have access to the most information. And the philosophy behind that is, yes, it's dangerous. Freedom of speech is very dangerous, as we've seen so many times, right?
Yes.
But truth floats to the top, right? And that truth might be disturbing, but that truth is the most important thing. And I'd rather live in a society based on that truth rather than living some sort of fantasy lie. And that living in that truth has its horrific consequences as well. But I'd rather it be based in the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the discussion of North Korea, obviously, we're not trying to be political on this we don't even know how to be sometimes.
No.
But this podcast is about bridging North Korea. And
Yes.
not that we need more attempts of the Truman Show break-in to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the ways that are going to be the game changers for North Korea to come closer to that? Again, not necessarily them becoming a democracy, not them becoming America, but them as a people coming to a place to make their own choice.
Yeah. There's got to be some leader. I think there's got to be some leader who will motivate the people to get out of think about their lives and say, we have to rise above this. We have to,
Like a coup then? Revolution?
Yeah, I guess that's what that would in essence be, right? I'm thinking Martin Luther King, but maybe it's more like George Washington, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that coming from the current era parents, right? Like that the Kim family right now is going to give up that power and control. Maybe they can't even, maybe the system is so corrupt, so deeply embedded in that power.
They can't, because if North Korea somehow implodes and joins the outside world, well, now they're facing crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
International
I mean, we've
courts.
seen that in other countries too, right?
Right. So it's a matter of survival for this group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We need a good old fashioned coup, I guess.
Yeah. It's I see, let's say Martin Luther King or George Washington type of figure does rise up. Well, how does he get his message out, right? In a closed society like that, again, how do you get a message out?
Through song and dance. I think the leader should be not one person, but a 9-person K-pop group. Are they 9 BTS? How many numbers are?
They'll just dance their way into our hearts.
They have their own army already.
Yes, they do.
BTS, we need you to invade North Korea.
This week, I don't know if you knew this.
I saw they're going to the army. That was not planned.
The first BTS member went into mandatory military service in South Korea. So it's starting.
It is starting. The BTS army will reach further and take over North Korea. You heard it here first.
It'll be smooth like butter.
The mission of Crossing Borders is to show the compassion of Christ to North Korean refugees and their children. If you want to give, get involved, or just learn more, check out our website at crossingbordersnk.org.